Hello and welcome to HMG Network, broadcasting live from the Greater Washington, D.C. Metropolitan. My name is Freeman Singirankabo, and thank you so very much for taking some time to join us today. Those of you joining us live, welcome. This is one of our power-packed messages from our series, Untold Stories from Rwanda. We have so much to share with you guys, and I would like to give each and every one of you a huge welcome and wish you a happy new year, because this is our very first show for the year for our series Untold Stories from Rwanda. And today, for those of you joining us live, we are going to be discussing a story of our brother Dr. William Adams and his experience in war zone as a child. His stories, it's quite a packed story, and he survived a war as a child. And spent most of his teenager years fleeing war and genocide in Rwanda as well as in the Congo. He walked across 3 countries escaping the war. He was eventually captured, kidnapped, and sent back to Rwanda, where he was tortured and nearly died. So it is our pleasure to give all of you guys a welcome as we get a chance and opportunity to hear from him. And our conversation for today is going to be moderated by none other than our brother, Claude Gatebuke, who is the Executive Director for the African Action Great Lakes Network. And with that in mind, I would like to check in with Claude and see if he's listening to us so we can get the show started. My brother Claude, good morning. Can you hear us?
Good morning, Freeman. Thank you. I'm excited to kick off this year 2022 on our series of testimonies and all of the HMG shows with today's Untold Stories.
Awesome.
But also looking forward to our Truth to Power and also In Pursuit of Justice coming up in the future.
Yes,
Thank you so
indeed.
much.
Absolutely. Take it away, buddy.
Thank you so much. So today's story, just to set the table for everybody. First, I want to say welcome everybody. Thank you for those of you who are joining us on social media, whether it's via Facebook, on the Uglan page, or if you're joining us via YouTube. And we ask that you please share the links so that others can also join us. The other thing is, those of you who are watching on TV at home, please welcome your neighbors, welcome some friends to listen to this really important story, a story of resilience. And I'm not going to say too much because my co-host is going to do, I'm pretty sure, a wonderful introduction. But I want to set the setting. The story starts in Rwanda, a small country in Central Africa, racked by war and genocide, most well known for its horrific genocide in 1994. And then it goes into the Congo, where our guest was a refugee and survived another genocide in that country. And then, as Freeman said, fled across multiple countries only to be captured and brought back. The size of the place that he traveled by foot, if you're in the United States, is a third of the whole US. Basically, everything east of the Mississippi. If you're in Canada, it's almost a third of Canada. If you're in Australia, it's almost a third of Australia. If you're in China, it's almost a third of China, or right around a third the size of China. So it's a large territory to cover by foot. The conversation itself is going to be, we're going to start with the story of William. Then you, the audience, will get a chance to interact with him with your questions and comments. So please go ahead and send us your questions and comments as we proceed through the show. And without further ado, I want to bring forward, but before that, the Congo, which is where most of this story is a country rich in resources, has $24 trillion worth of resources. You'll understand why there's so much war in that area. This story is not about Africans killing Africans, even though there are some horrible Africans in this story. The story is a global issue. It's a story of how global exploitation, how our appetite fuels horrific atrocities, and local players, which we'll talk about, enable multinationals and various international institutions are also involved in the exploitation of the people. So, without further ado, so that we can get into the story, I would like to invite my fabulous co-host, Delphine Yandamutso. Good morning, Delphine, and welcome.
Good morning, Claude. Thank you so much for the introduction. And also thanks, Freeman, for the introduction as well of the show. And Happy New Year to everyone who's watching, since this is our first, show for this year, for this series. I won't delay the conversation any further. But to add to what you and Freeman have already said, today we'll be hearing from Dr. William Adams Twayigize, who will tell us not only his journey through refugee, through fleeing and war, but also he tells us his story of resilience, including the support he received, but also unfortunately experiencing betrayal at the hands of international organizations. So I'll bring in William. Welcome, and if you can kindly say hello, and then we kick it off. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Delphine and Gatebuke and the Mutware. Thank you for also taking this opportunity to host me, to welcome me to your studios. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're really glad to have you. It's a pleasure. And we're ready to, I guess, to journey with you as you tell us through your story. I guess to start with, if you can tell us, about your childhood, your early years and your first encounters with war, please.
Thank you very much. I grew up in this small town, which is my background, my virtual background, and everything was good. We were children, we played soccer, which we used to call akarere. And I was also part of the teams. I liked playing football, which is a soccer. Some people call it soccer. And also, I was very good at it. I played almost every sport. I played football, I played volleyball, I played basketball, and also I was a very good athlete. I used to run from home all the way to downtown Ruhengeri town to buy some bread and some sodas, and sometimes even taking Irish potatoes to the market and do it in a very, very short time. So I was very athletic, and we enjoyed it to have also what we call the inter or intrasectorial tournament, football tournament, whereby teams from one sector or one location went to play with another location. So it was wonderful growing up in Ruhengeri.
I guess just to quickly bring to the audience who probably are not familiar with Rwanda, the Ruhengeri is in the northern province of Rwanda. And like you just said, the picture behind is showing a beautiful image of Ruhengeri. Is that what you said? With the volcanoes and stuff? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So the climate in Ruhengeri is one of the best climate you can ever have. I have had the opportunities to travel across the world. To be honest, there is no such a beautiful place like Northern Rwanda. Northern Rwanda has this sierra of volcanoes, which range from Uganda all the way to Eastern DRC. So that creates the best atmosphere, climate in that region, which makes the region very fertile. We grow mostly potatoes, peas, sorghum, and corn. So we enjoy being in that kind of serene environment, and also we enjoy the harmony and the peace that was in the late 80s and the early 90s. But by 90, when the RPF invaded Rwanda, everything came to a halt and everything stopped. Everything was turned upside down.
Yeah, so if you can, I guess, from there, tell us about your first encounters with war, like in 1991, please. Thank you.
Yes, so when the RPF attacked Rwanda in October, things started changing in the region. But because it was far away, we continued our activities. I remember I was in a primary school there. I was as I told you, I liked playing football. So I was a goalkeeper, both a goalkeeper and the defense and a forwarder. So I interchanged the roles based on the needs of the team. So that time when our school, our primary school was playing with another primary school in a place they used to be called the Akinyanda. The people come from Kinigi, Mukingo, it's called the Musanze now. So it used to be called the Kinigi commune, commune Kinigi, commune Mukingo, commune Kigombe. So the people from that region remember that market. It used to be a market where they used to sell sheep and goat and livestock mostly from Chanika and Uganda, in Western Uganda, the place called Bufumbira. So that's when it was a market day, it used to be a football pitch. So that time I remember we were having inter-school tournament, which brought together schools from that region, from Mukingo, from Kinigi, from Kigombe commune. So we were playing, and I was the goalkeeper because we were playing the finals that day. So it was wonderful. I used to enjoy the commotion behind it because we had a very good fans. So we were all young in our preteen, and so you can imagine we used to have also wonderful girls. They used to come and cheer us up. So and that day, actually, one of my friends that we used to play together, his name was Samuel. Probably they killed him. The RPF probably killed him because I haven't heard from him for many years. So he used to have a sister who was a cheerleader. So, and she was also my good friend because she used to go to another school called a school called the name is escaping me. So, and another school, and our school was playing with her school that day. So we went to stay at her place after the football. So I was going there because of my friend who was also a forwarder called Samuel. But to be honest, I just wanted to meet his sister, his younger sister, who was also my very good friend. And so we went there and slept in their home. So they lived in a place called the Kagano. Those people are familiar with that place called the Kagano. So, and that day actually we were playing with the Kagano primary school. So after the match, we went there and also it was a beautiful time of the year because it was the time of maize. Maize were blooming everywhere. People were harvesting. So children were happy roasting maize everywhere. So it was a beautiful time of the year. Then we went to stay there. So that fateful night, actually, when the RPF attacked Rwanda. So they attacked Rwanda from between those volcanoes you are seeing behind me. There is a small volcano there called the Gahinga. So they invaded Ruhengeri from Gahinga. So when you invade Ruhengeri from Gahinga, you come to Kinigi commune, and then goes down to Kagano, and in Nyange, actually, that's what I was forgetting. So we were living by the Nyange Bridge, and that's where the home was. So in the middle of the night, we had a commotion. The dogs were barking, and the people crying. So what was happening is that actually the RPF was hacking people in the neighborhood. In Nyange, near the bridge, for those people who know that place, for those people who know that place, actually there was a businessman who was very famous in that area. The RPF.
Hey, William.
Yes.
We want to make sure that the audience understands, our global audience may not know what the RPF is. The RPF is the Rwandan Patriotic Front, which was a rebel group that came from Uganda and invaded Rwanda in 1990. And it was an invasion led by Rwandan exiles who were part of the Uganda military, including Paul Kagame, the Rwandan president right now. So on the screen, you are seeing pictures of Kagame and the initial attack. So for those of you who are watching on your TVs and on social media and YouTube. So that's the invasion that William is talking about. So William, tell us about, what happens when they actually got to your area.
Yes, so thank you very much, Gatebuke, for clarifying that. So that night, actually, the RPF, the Rwandan Patriotic Front, led by Kagame and General Nyamwasa, actually invaded Ruhengeri, and they passed by our house, my friend's house. We were neighbors. As you know, many people in Rwanda live in the communities, so we know each other. So me sleeping over at my best friend's house, it was like sleeping at home. It was a home. So from there, then the RPF attacked, invaded Ruhengeri, but passed by Nyange sector, and at the bridge, they killed almost everybody. So when we heard that, we had the commotion, we got out and to go and see what was going on. Actually, we realized that actually there was people were being killed using blunt objects such as a hammer, agafoni. Most of Rwandans are familiar with the agafoni. Agafoni is a hammer that RPF soldiers used to carry, and they use it to smash the skulls of its victims. So when that night RPF attacked that region, actually many people were killed using the hammer, smashed. Others were actually cut using sharp objects. So it was horrific. So survived because we fled into the farms, what we call mahindi farms or maize farms. That's where we went and hid ourselves the whole night. The next morning, when we went around the shopping center, the scene was bloody everywhere, blood everywhere, which was not very unusual to the people of Rwanda. We were not used to see people who kill each other in that manner, but people had been slaughtered like sheep and goat, and the skulls smashed, and the brain all over, scattered all over, and you could see the blood on the walls. You could see blood in the kitchen, especially at that man's house. That man was actually the only person who had a car, which used to be Bikorwa pickup, and the car was bloody everywhere. And they had also taken one of his other car, which was a Toyota Stout, and that's what they used to ferry some of the things that they wanted to carry away. So it was a horrific experience, especially as a kid, to see how the people I knew, how they have been slaughtered in a brutal way. And also, it was really painful because some of his kids actually used to go to school together. So that night, then the heinous crime of RPF didn't stop in the Kagano sector or in the Kinigi. It continued all the way downtown to this city behind me. So they went door to door, and one of the friends that who used to be our family friend called Kaitan, and his wife were slaughtered, and his wife was pregnant, and the only person who survived in that house was the house help, and the house help survived because she was sleeping in a servant quarter. Otherwise, she could also have been killed. That's how she ran and came to stay with us in our home, and expressed and narrated the experience of how Kaitani and his wife and his 4 children were killed, were slaughtered by RPF. To make things interesting, Kaitani was killed by the people he went to school with. Kaitani was working in a Ruhengeri town, and the people who came to kill him from RPF were the people, the former classmate who joined RPF from that region. So, which means that the people RPF sent to attack, to invade Ruhengeri, some of them were the people who knew the region, who knew the people there, who knew who to target, because the Kaitani from all the people in that area, his family was targeted and slaughtered. His wife was around 5 months pregnant, and she was split. Her stomach was split. It was awful to see as a kid at that time.
That sounds like a very horrific thing to see as young, so we're so sorry about, and then this is only the beginning, so we're so sorry about how this beginning of the journey, your journey started. And if you can talk to us about, how you been through that, and, also fleeing from that region, if you can, I guess, fast forward to 94, please.
Yeah, so the conflict, the carnage continued in Rwanda. RPF continued killing people, and so then it reached to the time that the plane was shot down. It was like a climax of everything that ever happened in that country. The killing of RPF, of the people of Ruhengeri, the people of also Gisenyi. You remember that RPF and went and attacked the people in a place called the Bikorwa, which used to be Mutura commune, and also then it was also slaughtering people in the Butaro commune, in Kiombe, that is Byumba, and Kivui, and all those areas close to Uganda. So then came the time that the RPF on April 6, 1994, where the RPF actually shot the presidential jet, killing Habyarimana Juvenal of Rwanda and Habyarimana Cyprien of Burundi, 2 presidents at the same time. That's when which sparked the genocide and triggered the genocide, and the mass killing happened. So Rwandans fled to other part of so we started moving, and at that time I was a student in a high school. I had joined the high school at that time. So I was a student in South, and so we started fleeing the area, and so me because like other people, I was with another group of people, of students, said, you see now, the RPF actually if they want to take power, we are kids. We haven't been in power. We are not in power. Why continue fleeing? So we went to this place that Kibeho camp. Actually, we remained in Rwanda. I didn't flee in the 94 like with other people. I just remained in Rwanda, and so we remained there in that camp until the RPF actually in 95 came and attacked the refugee camp and destroyed the refugee camp. And the way we survived, it's a miracle, because we never expected that way the Zimbabwean, the Australian peacekeeping and the UN was there. It could be invaded by RPF. We could having reports of how RPF was killing people in the villages. So we said probably because we are here, we are safe because the organization, UNHCR was there, Red Cross, International Red Cross was there, and the other humanitarian organizations. But most importantly, the UN was there, UNHCR and the organization. And so just
well, William, just another quick interruption for those who are following and are unfamiliar with the UNHCR. It's the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. It's basically the entity in the United Nations that takes care of refugees. Please proceed, William.
Thank you very much. Yes, the UN, the UNHCR. Thank you, Gatebuke, for explaining that. So all humanitarian organizations were in that refugee camp, which we made us feel that we are protected. But things started changing because we started hearing reports that Ibingira, I think he's a general, or Kana, I don't know. Ibingira was in Butare. He was the most feared person by the Rwandans at that time. So we heard that he was in Butare planning. And so the reports continued coming, saying that actually Ibingira was planning to attack Ruhengeri. I mean to attack the camp, the Kibeho refugee camp. So, and another meeting that he was holding meetings with the other military personnel from Burundi, so that even if refugees escaped from the Kibeho camp, when they go to Burundi, they would be pushed back to Rwanda. So all those reports actually made us feel afraid, because we didn't know where to go now. So there was these humanitarian organizations. To our surprise, a few days before the attack of the refugee camp, most of the humanitarian organizations had already left the refugee camp, which was a sign that something bad, terrible was going to happen. So, and then these guys came and they attacked the refugee camp. When they attacked the refugee camp, actually, they started when it was what the people don't explain is that they started at night, pushing at night. The first step was to squeeze closer to the camp and push us on one side of the hill of the camp, of the place in Kibeho. And once they squeezed us, they continued pushing, and they cut the supply of food, water, and the humanitarian supplies such as medical supplies. So because there were no people, humanitarian staff had left the refugee camps, so the only people started doing things were the soldiers from Zimbabwe. I guess they were from Zimbabwe, if not Zambia, but most from Zimbabwe. Then others from Australia and the other countries. They started providing some kind of a humanitarian to refugees, especially the kids, the mothers who had the kids. But that siege continued, so that the aim of the siege was to make sure that they starve us, so that by the time they launch assault on the camp, we were so weak and nobody could even run away. So they could have given
sorry
them.
for another interruption, William. So this is in the Kibeho. It's in the south of Rwanda, and this is in 1995. Because
Yes.
you've been displaced within Rwanda, but you were still in Rwanda in 1995. That's when this camp. So that for people who are following, I wanted to sort of confirm this is the attack on the refugee camps in Kibeho in south of Rwanda in April 1995. Yeah, correct?
Yes, you are
Okay.
right. So me and some other students, actually we didn't flee because we thought these people are saying they are Rwandans. So the regimes are changing. Why continue fleeing? And it's our country. Let's be here. Probably we will continue having opportunity to study. We finish, the life goes on. But we were so mistaken, actually. It was one of the worst childish decisions that we ever took. Those people were not about a regime change. Those people were about the system change. The system change means that changing everything. That's why you see them, they have renamed everything. The Ruhengeri is no longer Ruhengeri, is Musanze. We have other places called other names. We no longer have places like Changugu. We no longer have places like Kibungo. We no longer have the same flag that we used to have for the public. So it was about a system change. That's what we didn't understand then, but we were so naive. We were kids. We couldn't understand what was going on. But now we understand better as we see the action. So by remaining in the Kibeho refugee camp, that was the worst mistake. So when in Kibeho, then they attacked and they killed the people mercilessly, and the whole night, actually, they were killing people. By the time it was during the day, it was a massacre everywhere. They had a massacre, the thousands, children, women, elderly people, everybody that who was not like that they was killed. So that time, the same night, I said, I'm not going to wait here. And they come and they smash my car using the hammer. I better die running. So I just ran into the banana plantations. That's where I ended up. And they hid under what they used to call staria. I don't know how they call it in English. These things that they use it to protect the land from erosions. So that's where, in the ditch, that's where I went and hid myself. So in the process of hiding myself, actually, they had already shot me. I had sustained some injuries because one of the soldiers threw a grenade at us as we were fleeing. So I sustained some injuries. When I sustained the injuries on my leg, then I continued the running, but I went into the ditch, and then there was a person also very far. I don't even remember the place, but we had crossed over the hill. There was another guy who saw me, who had an elderly mother in that house. So he was coming to check on his mother, but he had fled. And his family has fled in Gikongoro and in a place on the way to Burundi. So the guy later in the night came to see me, to look at me, said, I saw you, this happened to you. So that's why I thought that probably you might still be alive. Can I carry you to our mother's house and see how we can treat the wounds, and then continue to see what we can do from there? Because now those people are very busy fighting the media, because it was all over the news. So now it's an opportunity for us to leave. So he said he has friends in Burundi. That's how we went through the night, went closer to Burundi, stayed there in another family where his family members were hiding. Then from there, it was near the forest, the new forest. Then from there, we moved into Burundi. I think Chibitoke. There was a place, he had friends there, and also part of his family had fled area to that place. So they were waiting for him. Those days, there were no cell phones, so it was just a word of mouth. And when we got to Burundi, Burundi people were so kind to receive us, and they received us and they treated us, the injuries, and for some times I stayed in Burundi. But the situation in Burundi, that there was also political upheavals between Tutsis at that time. Dadaye had been assassinated, and also Buyoya was agitating for change so that he could come back to power. So the situation was still very, very, very tense in Burundi. But luckily, people, the friends of, I actually remember the guy. The guy was called Casimir. I will another of his name. His name was Casimir. Wherever he is now, God bless him, because he really helped me. So together with his family, we moved from one area of Burundi, from the border, into another place closer to Zaire, the Democratic Republic of Congo. It used to be called the Zaire there. So we moved from that place and closer so that we could cross into Kamanyora, that's Eastern DRC. So when we crossed into Eastern DRC, it was also another wonderful story, because the Mobutu's soldiers actually robbed us, took everything we had, and they left me with the underwears, and they took completely everything, and they took, I didn't have money, I was broke as hell at that time as a kid. But my friends who were with me, they took everything. And I remember the only money survived in that family is the money that the mother, who was carrying a baby, had put between her and the baby as she carried the baby on her back. So then we crossed into Congo with nothing, actually. Where then, luckily, the Kamanyora hospital used to have Catholic missionaries, the nuns, who were looking at the people in very, very deplorable conditions. And then from there, I got some clothes and also got some medical attention. Then said the way my wounds looked, because they were really smelling, very, very smelling. So they needed some specialized treatment. And at that time, it happened that a Rwandan refugee was a medical military called Mujemanyi Frodwa, had started a clinic for Rwandan refugees in Panzi refugee camp. So, and the Caritas International had started bringing humanitarian support. Also,
William, one more clarification for the audience. I think Caritas is French and maybe other languages. In English, it's Catholic Charities.
Yeah, Catholic Charities. Thank you. Yeah, so Catholic Charities, at that time actually it was a Italian Catholic Charities, which used to be called the Caritas Internationales. So it was supporting the refugees and also helped Dr. Mujemanyi Frodwa to set up the clinic, the first medical clinic for refugees who had fled Rwanda in Eastern DRC. So he was the only person, he was the only surgeon actually who were doing the operations on all refugees and the local people, local Congolese who had serious wounds. So the nuns, the Catholic nuns, organized how he could leave Kamanyora and you go to Panzi. So that's how I arrived in Panzi and got medical attention. And also that clinic, the Panzi refugee medical clinic, actually was also supported by the Catholic missionaries, the priest of Panzi parish. There is a parish, I think it is still there, a parish near Panzi. So it is called the Panzi Catholic parish, and they are used to be priests. Those priests actually, when RPF or Kagame invaded the DRC, he slaughtered all of them. None of them survived, actually. And he accused them of supporting refugees, helping refugees. So no one of them actually survived that time when Kagame was killing them in 96. So I stayed in Panzi for some times and it got better, then started helping other people who had injuries. So I volunteered to help, and also then I got a letter from Red Cross. Red Cross, they used it to help refugees communicate and find each other. So the Red Cross sent me a letter. My parents were looking for me, hoping that I survived, because we never met since 94, actually since 93. So they were looking for me. Then I got the letter from my parents. Then I came to learn that they were in a refugee camp in Kibumba. So I had no money. I was broke like any other refugee. So I stayed there and helped to help other refugees. Then I started selling mandazi and mandazi.
Like donuts.
McDonald's. I started making McDonald's.
Like donuts.
using maize flour.
Yeah.
And mixing it with the cassava flour and using mawesa. Mawesa is palm oil. So I started selling one by one, and made enough money actually to take me to Goma. So I used to go to walk all the way from Panzi and go to different camps, and also go to the port in Bukavu. There used to be a port which the ship between Bukavu city and Goma city used to dock. So I used to go there to sell the mandazi, so that also I can make a friendship with the people who operated those ships. So that was my intention, so that one day, hopefully, I would make it to Goma and see my mother. So one day I got enough money, which was not even enough, but it was enough to give it to those guys who used to work on the ship. So they allowed me to go deeper into where they put the cargo. So I went down into the cargo and stayed there so that other people cannot find me, because I didn't have money. So I didn't have even a ticket. So, and I went all the way to Goma. And when I arrived in Goma, there was another problem actually to move from Goma to Kibumba. I thought the camps were together, but it was quite of a distance. So I stayed in Goma. I started meeting kids. We were together in high school. Some of them actually working as a translator for GTZ, others working. My brother, who was called Sevatware, that time he was also a first year student in Gatovu group of schools of literature. So he was working for GTZ as a translator. So I stayed with him. He also helped me get some money to go and see my dad. So my brother, my dad had many wives. So my brother Svatwar, he was my step brother, but we were almost the same age. Actually, he was killed in 2008 because they suspected him that he would be vying for the office of the president of the Butare National University. He wanted to be the chairman, student chairman, but the guy actually was pushed from the balcony instantly. So, and then I arrived in Kibumba, and then we stayed in Kibumba, and one day, the honeymoon in Kibumba actually ended because I arrived in late 95 and stayed there around October. The RPF, led by Kagame, of course, invaded the refugee camps. But before that, we could decide.
Was this 96, the October of which year?
Yeah, 96.
96, okay.
96,
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. But before that, actually, so many things were happening in the refugee camp. So that time, the humanitarian organizations actually were pro-RPF. It was obvious. The first thing that the humanitarian organizations did in Rwanda and Hutu refugee camps in the eastern DRC is that they reduced the amount of food that they used to give. And the reason of doing that, the reason of doing that, it's because they wanted to force refugees to go back. Why? Because when RPF captured the power in Rwanda, it only captured the land. There was nothing else. Majority of more than 3/4 of Rwandans had fled Rwanda. Therefore, when the RPF was ruling Rwanda, actually there were no people in Rwanda to talk of. So it was a very big political and diplomatic issue. Sorry.
That's okay. Take your time. Yeah. Take your time. And and I also wanted to, like, as you're talking, I don't want to interrupt, but I'm like, I just wanted to acknowledge this is a really difficult story to tell. And, sorry about everything you've gone through. I mean, you were still talking, but still it's so hard. And also for your losses. So please proceed.
Thank you. So 3/4 of Rwandans had fled Rwanda. So they were in refugee camps. So the humanitarian organizations started supporting, they obviously were supporting Kagame. We Rwandans knew that because it was obvious. But what I wanted to clarify here is that organizations such as the World Food Program actually were bringing in food and the guns from Uganda as they supplied food and any other humanitarian aid. They were also bringing in guns in the preparation of the Rwandan RPF invasion into the refugee camps. So the way that they started to do it, they did it in progressive stages. The first stage is that they started denying food to refugees. They reduced from the food that they used to give to refugees, and they reduced it and they started providing refugees only 25% of the food that they used to give to them. What that means is that the refugees started starving, and especially refugees which had families and the children started starving. So some of them decided to go back to Rwanda, although they knew the danger which was awaiting for them there. But that didn't work as both Rwanda and the Western backers and the humanitarian organizations had expected. So the next stage, because the majority of the people continued remaining, suffering, going to work for Congolese people, going to work on farms for Congolese people and the hustle around didn't work. So the next stage was also to bribe the Mobutu's contingent. The contingent was were the troops which were assigned by the Mobutu's government to protect the refugees. So those people were bribed, and they started actually working with the Kagame to kidnap prominent refugees, educated refugees, and taking them back to Rwanda. And also assassination. We started experiencing assassinations around the camps. Many people were assassinated by the Rwanda, the RPF soldiers, commandos who came into refugee camps, facilitated by the contingent or the contingent. The contingent was this refugee protection unit given by the Mobutu regime. So they were so corrupt and they were all bought. Therefore, they allowed the Kagame's troops to infiltrate the camps. And
so, William,
yes.
just to clarify, so this was before the camps were actually attacked. So this,
yes, this
so
was
these NGOs were facilitating or kind of enabling the troops to infiltrate and kill the refugees. Okay.
Actually, you find many organizations, humanitarian organizations like GOR, like RSA, International Rescue Committee, and you find others like EPZ. They are used to be an organization called the EPZ, Église Pentecost du Zaire. Those organizations worked in cahoot with the new regime in Kigali, actually to make sure that they provide the intelligence to Rwanda, but also they enable the Rwandan soldiers to infiltrate into the camps. And William,
yes,
just real quick to give the audience a little bit of, so we talked about the story of the invasion of the RPF. When you refer to the new regime in Rwanda, I think one of the most important points to make is that eventually the RPF, the rebel group that William is talked about, that invaded his village, slaughtered people with hand weapons and machetes, and knives and hammers, and went down across the country and also massacred those people in southern Rwanda, in Kibeho. He was in northern Rwanda, played all the way down to southern Rwanda. The RPF continued to take over the country, pursued people, killed them. The RPF is the one that took over Rwanda. So when he refers to the new regime in Rwanda, it's the RPF. When he refers to the new, the government of Rwanda, or to the Rwandan troops, it's the RPF led by Paul Kagame. The pictures of soldiers that you saw earlier, and I'm sure the studio is going to run some clips and pictures again of who was involved in those in the invasion. But just to make it clear, this was the RPF that you're referring to, that these organizations were helping with intelligence and infiltration of the camps.
Thank you, Gatebuke, for clarifying that. Yes, so now after we fled Rwanda in July '94, there was a new regime. The RPF actually came to power. So, and the majority of Rwandans fled into Eastern DRC. Actually, we are talking about over 4 million refugees. Here also, I have to clarify something else. By 1994, Rwanda had only less than 6 million people. It's good to understand because the statistics of Rwanda have been doctored to suit the narrative of the new regime in Kigali. And when we talk about Rwanda in the 90s, it had only less than 6 million, whereby the Hutus were around 85 or between 84 and 85%. Another thing is that the Tutsis actually were around between 14 and 15%. where Twas were rarely mentioned in our statistics were around 1%. So it's good also to put that into context so that when we talk about majority of the people fled Rwanda, we now understand the statistics that of the people who fled Rwanda. So when we are talking about around 4 million people, Rwandans, being in exile in eastern, in refugee camps, in eastern DRC, in western Tanzania, in Burundi, in Uganda, and beyond, we are talking about majority of the people living in Rwanda, which left Rwanda empty. So it was very hard for the RPF to justify why it captured power in Rwanda without the people, because you cannot claim to be a government if you don't have people you are ruling. You need people to pay taxes. So RPF had remained with less than actually 10% of the population. So it was very hard for RPF to justify the existence in Kigali. So that's why the RPF and its Western backers started working on the maneuvers to force Rwandan Hutu refugees to go back to Rwanda so that they could diplomatically and politically justify why the new regime was there. So because the majority of Rwandans did want to go back, because they knew going back it was going to the slaughterhouse, majority of the Rwandans did go back to Rwanda. So what happened? The humanitarian, Western humanitarian organization, such as UMICO, UMICO is the United Methodist Relief Commission, something like that, and the World Food Program, and the Red Cross, International Red Cross, and the GOR International, and the other humanitarian organizations actually started working closely with the Western countries, which actually gave them the money for humanitarian support to provide, to facilitate the RPF to force Rwandan Hutu refugees to go back to Rwanda. So it's good to make this one clear so that people understand the context where we were at that time. So in 95, between 95 and 96, the RPF, the Kagame soldiers, increased the activity in the refugee camps. That's Chibumba, Kahindo, Lakever, Mugunga. Chibumba actually was the largest in Eastern DRC because it hosted close to 2 million refugees. So many activities, RPF activities, were actually clear, and the refugees, some refugees saw a pile of stocks in some of the warehouse which was run by the World Food Program. There were weapons which had been shipped from Uganda into the refugee camp. So to cut the story short, by October, Rwanda, the new regime in Rwanda, the RPF, with the blessings from the West, invaded the DRC to destroy the refugee camps. But they portrayed it as if it was just about the refugee camps only, the Hutu refugees in the DRC, but it was not the case, because I remember in October when the RPF actually came, invaded Kibumba. That time it was around 3 a.m. I remember vividly when they started shooting everywhere, and you could see the shooting, the shelling, the camps being burned, and we started running at night. So that time actually I was naked, and they almost actually meant it was naked because there was no time for us to put on anything. So we ran, some of the people actually ran into Nyiragongo Park, the Nyiragongo National Park. What I wanted to clarify here is there are live volcanic activities. So some of the refugees ran into the park, actually were caught by the magma and burned to death. Many refugees died in the park as they were trying to flee from Kagame's men. And so in the morning, then I went all the way I fled into the park and found myself into Mugunga. Then from Mugunga, we went to Lac Vert, which is a green lake, and we stayed there for some times. And the RPF continued actually advancing into DRC, and they went to install the military weapons on the hills of Sake. So the hills of Sake, you are able to control the whole of Goma, but also you are able to control the whole of Masisi. So when they went there, and they were led by General Nyamwasa, he even admitted that the sole purpose of installing the troops at the top of Sake Hills was to push the Rwandan refugees into Lake Kivu. It was not even to return them back to Rwanda, because they had stationed the military in Goma already, didn't want people to go back to Rwanda. And the park, the Nyiragongo National Park, it was magma everywhere, live magma, still active volcanic activities in that park. The only place was safe was to go through Masisi Hills. I mean Sake Hills. But the RPF had already stationed the weapons there. So practically, it's not possible to get military equipment and install them in Masisi in such a short time. It's because with the help of humanitarian organizations, especially Western humanitarian organizations which were claiming to serve refugees, had helped them ship the equipment in this guise of food. So as the refugees waited for the food, starving to death, all the food was busy actually bringing weapons into the refugee camp. So by the time the refugee camps were destroyed, RPF had already soldiers in Masisi. So when we were in Sake, we didn't have any options. Actually, we were just herded together like sheep, waiting to die. So on your left, there is Lake Kivu. On your right, there is live magma activities, volcanic activities. You can see the fire during the day and see the fire see the smoke during the day and see the fire during the night. And the only corridor to Rwanda, there was the RPF, and the RPF had put stations, which we can call, we used to call actually the triage stations. The triage stations is where the refugees who chose to go back to Rwanda, the RPF selected young people and the educated people, and young Hutus and educated Hutus, and they diverted them to the slaughter place, which they used to call Golgotha. So the Golgotha stations were in Mugunga, in the forest, where they used to take young people to kill them. So if you went with your parents and you are a young person in your 20s, in 17, 16, 15, and all your parents are educated, they always removed them and they led them to Golgotha place. The Golgotha place, that's where Agaphone, the hammer, the RPF for Hamadidi, it's a job where they just smashed your head and they leave you to die there. So thousands of Rwandans who tempted to go back, actually, many of them were led to Golgotha. And those who managed to escape came back to Sake. So they were telling us the stories of what they had seen. So as we stood there in Sake, we didn't know what to do. Then there was another twist to this story, where personally, anyone who was in Sake will tell you that there was a pickup car, military car, where there were two white soldiers. And they had an American accent. You can tell. They had American accent, actually using megaphones to call refugees to go back to Rwanda. And they were saying, you have no options. You either drown yourself into Lake Kivu, or you go back to Rwanda because you have no options. So there is only one corridor. If you attempt to go further, you can see the soldiers are all around. So you have no choice. The only choice you have is to go back to Rwanda. The guy could actually say it in Kinyarwanda, broken Kinyarwanda. You could tell this is not a Rwandese, but he had rehearsed. To have someone coming, a foreign military coming to the situation actually showed how the whole thing had been planned. So one night, because there was no options, refugees came together one night and say, dying is dying, it's a death. Instead of being drowned into Lake Kivu or going to be smashed the scars in the Mugunga, we better go all the way to Masisi and confront these people on Sake Hills. So that's what happened. And very early in the morning, around 3, all refugees, millions and millions of refugees, went and climbed Sake Hills. And by morning, when around 6 or 5, when the sun comes out, the Rwandan patriotic soldiers realized that millions and millions were closer to them. So they were shouting, saying, catch those people, catch them, catch them. So as the refugees sang the song of catch them, the RPF, the Nyamwasa, the soldiers, got scared and they ran away and they left all the military equipment there. So it was a fight from morning all the way to around 3. Many people died, many refugees died, but by evening, the RPF had been defeated, refugees had taken over the weapons, and the women were celebrating, people dancing. So that's how we managed to go all the way to Masisi. So my journey now toward the West begins in the real time. So when we arrived at the top of Sake Hills, we stayed there the whole night, and the Nyamwasa continued the organizing. So by morning, by 5, we were attacked again. The next day now, we were attacked by the RPF soldiers. And the only way you could be saved, those people know Masisi. Masisi those hills are very, very, very high, but they don't have trees. They are just farms. They are just grassland. And so the only way, you couldn't run down the hill because it's too steep. So the only way you could just roll like a stone. So we rolled all the way down to the river. And then if you reach the river still safe, then you wake up, you look at yourself, you shake yourself, and you pinch yourself to see if you are still alive. If you feel the pain, then you are still alive. So you run again. So that's how we survived the Masisi. We ran through Masisi, and the people of Masisi were so kind, very, very generous people. And we spoke the same language. So they took us to their houses, they gave us food, and they helped, and they begged us to stay in Masisi. But man, what I had experienced with the RPF, there was no stopping. So I told them, let me continue, you will find me ahead, God willing. So I didn't stop in Masisi, but those who stopped in Masisi, because there was everything that you needed, good food, good people. So those who remained in Masisi actually were slaughtered. So I continued from Masisi. There is this family, I will never forget it. There is a family, because I was, the only thing I was running with, I had actually, it was the Bible. So whenever we paused to breathe, when the RPF is not shooting at us, so I could read the Bible and read some of the verses my mother used to read for us by fireside. So one day, there is this market in Kibabi, those who know Masisi. I was reading the Bible, I was alone, because the world actually was not making any sense at all. So I was reading the Bible, and this family, two men came, and one woman came to me and said, "You have been around and you have seen, you are the only one reading the Bible. How come you are reading the Bible?" I said, "I have no choice. So this is the only thing I have." So would you, even as we read the Bible, those people were carrying the Bible. They are those we call abagorosi. Those are SDA reformers. So said, even as we like reading the Bible, we like to come to our house. We are good people, we are people of God. Come to our house so that you can take a shower. So I went there. These people were so kind. They boiled the water for me to take a shower. They brought the is it called the G kind of lotion? The G.
Oh, yes.
Cow ghee?
Ichimuri.
Yeah,
cow
Ichimuri.
Ghee, yes.
Yes, they brought Ichimuri, the G, and rubbed my body, massaged my body. Those people, they felt alive again. So they said, "Please stay with us and stay here. You are a young man. You don't have to, you still have the whole world ahead. Where you are going, if you continue going deeper beyond here, there are other communities which actually eat people. They hate people. So when he said that there are people who eat people, I remember those fake stories we read from Belgian books, the Anthropophage du Congo. So I said, so it's better to be eaten by Congolese than being killed by RPF soldiers. So because those people who eat me, they will enjoy at least for that day, but the RPF will smash my car. So I refused to stay with them. Then I went, I continued the fleeing with other refugees. So something happened because it's a long story. We arrived at a river called the Nyabarongo. So it's not a Nyabarongo in Rwanda. It's another Nyabarongo which divide the Masisi and the Banyanga territories. So when we arrived there, it's a huge river. I had never seen such kind of huge river in a width and also in a water currents. So there was no way to cross the bridge because the Banyanga people, indigenous people there, to cross that river used to use mobile bridges that they traditionally made out of plants, and they come up with a bridge. So when they heard massive refugees are coming into the territory, they dismantled those bridges, those makeshift bridges. And so there was no way to cross the river. And there were no canoes to use to sail across. So The only options which were there was to some refugees had some kind of access. So we had to cut trees, huge trees, mahogany trees which have been there. So it used to take like hours for like 10 minutes to bring a tree down. So we cut the trees until they fell into the river, until they made a bridge. So that's how it took us like 2 days. Then after 2 days, then we started a crossing. So when we crossed over, we were millions and millions. So everybody could not cross, go across the bridge. So there was an organization whereby the people who crossed first were women and the children. So me, there was a kid who I met on the way fleeing that he had twisted his ankle. So he was not here with his parents. So I carried him. So they said, you, because you are with your brother, cross the bridge. That's how you crossed among the first people. But it didn't take long before the RPF soldiers arrived there, and they slaughtered many people because the crossing process was very slow, and thousands of people were slaughtered. So we went all the way to Ting Ting, and I was among the first people arrived in Ting Ting, and we set up the Ting Ting refugee camp. In the Ting Ting refugee camp, so God knows how to save his people. As we were fleeing through Banyanga, there was someone who had a medication. He had gotten from gold in Mugunga, but he didn't know how to read that. So I knew a little bit of English, and also I spoke French and a little bit of German. So the medications from Mimosa, actually they were in Germany and the English. So I told he brought the medication to me and he said, I hear you are a student and you speak many languages. Could you help me? Because at that time I was actually studying chemistry. Could you tell me the medication which could help to treat some of the diseases that we might encounter in this journey? So he said, I want a medication for malaria and also a medication for diarrhea, because those were the common illness in that kind of environment. So I got those medications, and we used to have a medication called the Fansida at that time. There were tablets called the Fansida. So I got the Fansida, I gave him for malaria. Then I got the antibiotics, I gave him for both the diarrhea and the wounds. So the rest of the medication, he said, go with them. Even if you leave them to me, I wouldn't be able to read them. So I started carrying the medication, and then whenever I saw someone who has a problem, I could just give them, and they could get better. So someone came to me and said, my friend, you are healing people here. Why don't you use this opportunity God has given you to actually sell the medication to Banyanga people? You are going to get a goat, you are going to get a rice, we are going to survive. I said, that's a good idea. So I took a pen and a white paper and wrote on my chest that I'm a Munganga. Munganga in the language means a doctor. So I became a doctor at the time to survive. So I started going around.
You became a doctor while you were surviving all these atrocities.
I started going around. I started going around as a Munganga. So whenever they saw Munganga, they came to me and brought it to me. They sick people. So magic of the medication is that those people had never had taken any conventional treatment. So they used the herbs alone. So any dose, small dose you gave them, it did wonders. So especially one of the major problems they had was worms, the mignon. So I knew that for an adult, you give him the whole pill. Then the children you divide. That's all, the trick I knew. Whatever piece, small piece you gave them, they went into the bush, and the tons and tons of worms came out. So the word started spreading around that there is magical doctor who is around. There is a munganga, munganga. That's how they used it to call me. So many people came. So they had this money used to be called the frasifa. I mean nouveau, which was actually useless at that time. So we started taking goat. Goat became so many, and they had people to carry those goats. It became too much, and so I says such kind of things. So I told them I would just be treating you for free, and then there were people who used to sell minerals and go to sell minerals in Kisangani and sleep with a prostitute there and they get infected and they come back. There's no medication. So they brought those people. Then you give them one antibiotic, just one pill. The guys get better. The next day they come with the bags and the sheep and the cuckoos, chicken and everything to thank you. So, and then we arrived in Tingi and they started a small clinic. Those who were in Tingi, you remember the first small clinic which was giving medication for free to refugees. I had tons and tons carrying them actually. So I started giving it to refugees before the humanitarian organizations came. By around December, we had already, December 96, we had already established ourselves in Ting. And there is this guy from Chibuye, I don't remember the name. I will give you the picture so that you can put it on this. This guy organized our fellowship and I have never seen him. That guy, we stayed with him in Ting. And then there is another guy from home who was a handicap. We lived with him in Ting. And we stayed in Ting. There was no food, nothing. The medication, so we got the food and we took people in. I took in kids who were just unaccompanied kids who were just alone. And so we stayed in Ting. Then later, an organization, I think it's an organization called the Action contre la faim, Action Against Hunger, started coming in and bringing in food. Otherwise, millions of people, thousands of people were dying, especially children, because of diarrhea and the other kind of diseases. There was no medication. At least around between 50,000 and I mean between 4,000 and 5,000 children were dying every day on a daily basis because there was no food, there was no water, no drinking water. And the people who went to do, I don't remember the time we used to do puye, who used to go to loot to look for food from the indigenous communities in Congo. Actually, many of them were killed because of what happened is that you could, these people have these arrows, which are poisonous arrows, which they put snake venom to poison them. So when it touches, even a slight touch, you die. So many people died as they were going to look for cassava to eat. Then one day, a woman came called Sadako Ogata. We say the sensei, she was, I think, the director of, or the president of UNHCR at that time. So she was in charge of refugees in the world. So when she came, we said, now we are going to survive. Actually, we didn't. When she came, she said, you only have two options. You die inside this forest, or you either die inside this forest, or if you agree, we bring you planes which are going to take you back to Rwanda. Otherwise, you have no options. even in this country, very soon, those people who are protecting you here, they are not going to be in power anytime soon. So she was talking about the Mobutu. So she knew everything. And looking at how emaciated the kids were. You see, there is a video called the Chisangani Diary. That's how we live. If you look at the Chisangani Diary, that's how we looked. Only one person managed to come to Ting Ting. This Spanish guy, journalist, who came and record. That's the only record of refugees, how Rwandan Hutu refugees were suffering in Ting Ting. So,
William, thank you for actually referring to the Kisangani Diaries. That was one of the early documentaries that came out talking about the this invasion of the Congo and the slaughtering of Rwandan refugees and slaughtering of Congolese people, the genocide that took place in the Congo. There is also another film in French called Zaire, Fleuve du Sang. And that means Zaire, which is the former name of the Congo. And it says Zaire, a river, a bloody river.
yes.
It also talks about this invasion. And for those of you who speak English or French, there's another documentary called Afrique en morceaux, Afrique en morceaux, or Africa in Pieces. And you can actually find that film also on YouTube. And if you watch that film, it basically shows some of the military leaders that William is talking about, like General Kayumba Nyamwasa, who he is referred to multiple times, General James Kabarebe, all of them bragging about going in there and slaughtering these people, slaughtering the refugees, slaughtering the Congolese people. So just wanted to share the resources and give you a little break, William. So please continue with your testimony. Just wanted to give you a little break to
Thank you very much for giving those resources. Actually, I'm going to look at them after this. So in Ting Ting, then we started hearing the news that the RPF actually was advancing. In Ting Ting, we had two stops. There was a stop of Walikare town. There was also, after Walikare, there was a Amis refugee camp, and then Ting Ting. So the people of Amis had started fleeing into Ting Ting. That was around 50 kilometers away. So we knew here we are going to become manure for this forest again. And I remember this guy from Chibuye. I will give you the photo. So sharing with him and sharing with another guy called Nteziaremye. Nteziaremye, I think Leonidas is something like that. He's from home, and his father is a Ahori Nyuze. So he's from home, is someone that who was ahead of me, the person that I knew very well. So we were living together. After fellowshipping, it was on a Friday. I won't forget. So we fellowshipped then, and we looked at the situation and we prayed. And then we said, actually, this looks like the last day in this place. And if we don't meet here, let's work hard so that we meet in heaven. So we knew that we were going to die there, because there were news that the Ugandan army had also arrived in the Lubutu shopping center, which was between 5 to 10 kilometers away from Ting Ting on your way to Kisangani. And the refugees were heading to the west because the east was Rwanda. And I assessed the situation, and I told the people, my friend, I'm not going to sleep in this camp again this night, because I looked at it and something was telling me things are not looking good. I was feeling very uneasy. So I went and we used to stay with the other kids. I told the kids, who wanted to go with me? And we just go. So there was when we arrived in Tingitingi, there were also sections of Ruhengeri Prefecture, Kibuye Prefecture. One of the guys, my schoolmate, was actually the leader, or the, how do you call these guys? The governor of Ruhengeri. So the Agisio Country Lafay used to give food, but he gave food to people based on where they come from. So this guy, I told him, actually, I'm leaving. Then he looked at me and said, man, you are leaving. And this is the only place we have after this is death. So where are you heading to? So I told him, I have a feeling that I should not sleep in this camp again, even one more night. So I went and crossed the river Tingitingi. River Lubutu, into Lubutu shopping center. There was a Congolese who was my friend, so he welcomed me. I told him I was feeling very uneasy, so probably crossing the bridge would be better. So I crossed the bridge that night. There was no problem, and I came back the next day. So, but I had left some of the little things I had across the river. Then he came and stayed in a camp the whole day. We went to take a bath in the river, which was nearby. For those who live in Tingitingi, they know there is a place we used to go and wash. So I went there and spent there the whole afternoon. But something continued telling me this place is not safe. So I slept in that place that night. Then the night they started shooting, and they shot the whole night, and actually across some guns were shooting from Lubutu shopping center toward the refugees. As we fled, we only had one option. Then there were other guns shooting, actually mobile guns, which are mounted on cars, shooting from the side of Warikare or Amis refugee camp. So they came shooting the whole night, and we were like 400 or to 500,000 refugees in Tingitingi. So we started going toward Lubutu, and thousands and thousands. There were stampede, and the people, children crying, women crying, and it was horrible. And as RPF actually was chanting, kill them, kill them, kill them. So they continued shooting at us. Then people arrived at the Lubutu bridge. The Lubutu bridge, you might have seen in the pictures, of refugees came to that bridge. The bridge was actually an old bridge, which the infrastructure was there like 100 years. So it was an old bridge, and the refugees, when they arrived there were other guns which were shelling toward the bridge. Those guns actually were from Ugandan troops. Then the Nyamwasa guns were pushing from behind and from also the forest. Then they pushed, and the people, thousands and thousands, stood at that bridge until it collapsed. So thousands of the people sank with the bridge into the bridge and made a new bridge of human bodies. So we crossed over other people. You could hear people saying, please hold my hand, I'm drowning. So it was chaotic. And we ran then past through the forest, past the Lubutu shopping center, and found ourselves in Tingitingi. So from Tingitingi, to Kisangani, not Tingitingi, to Kisangani. So when we went we arrived in Kisangani, we continued, went to this place where Red Cross was. I'm really forgetting this refugee camp. There was another refugee, Ubundu refugee camp. So we went to Ubundu, we took the train, we arrived in Ubundu. Then the train after us actually was taken by refugees, but it was bombed by the insiders. Actually, I have also to mention this. Within the Mobutu's refugees, the Congolese, soldiers, the Congolese soldiers, there were insiders already. The pro-RPF, who were also already there, who were soldiers. So the train that made the RPF arrive very much ahead of us in any town that we went to. So a train which went to Ubundu after us from Kisangani was bombed, and it was carrying like 10,000 Rwandan Hutu refugees. So when we arrived in Ubundu refugee camp, the people we met there, they said they were the Red Cross. Little did we know that actually they were RPF agents who were already there. So they started providing food to us so that they could attract more refugees. Then one night they started shooting from Brew. So I ran away naked. I actually went all the way. Then I found myself near a very big river, very far away, and they stayed there. Then some Congolese took me to their house. I stayed there. Then we started going all the way, fleeing all the way to Mbandaka. So in Mbandaka, there is also something which happened. Refugees took a ship. They are not even called a ship. There is another name of these things that they ship you across.
Yeah, it's little
ferry. They are called the ferry. Yeah.
Yes.
So thousands of refugees took a ferry, and that ferry was sunk into River Congo, and thousands of refugees died there in that ferry as they tried to cross into Congo Brazzaville now. So now we are in Mbandaka. We wanted to cross into Congo Brazzaville because it was clear that RPF wanted also to take over Congo, so we couldn't stay in Congo. Then there was this Catholic priest who helped us to find a boat which took us. It was in a kind of boat which had the engine, an engine boat which took us to Kinshasa. So I ended up in Kinshasa, and whereas other people were crossing. So when we arrived in Kinshasa, I thought the worst was over, but we were so mistaken. By May, I think 17, when Mobutu left Kinshasa, I was in Kinshasa. So when I was in Kinshasa, and the RPF took over, and I had this Bible. The Bible had photos of some of my cousins.
Hey, William, for just a quick second, another resource that I think, before you cross over to the to Congo Brazzaville, there is a report that was released on October 1st, 2010, called the UN Mapping Exercise Report for Congo, that documents these atrocities, the genocide that was committed, the mass rapes, and the crimes against humanity that were committed across the Congo. I know that most of what you're saying is around the refugees, but there was also more than 6 million Congolese people have been killed, have died since the invasion of Rwanda and Uganda in 1996, 25 years ago. This year is going to make 26 years. That's a whole generation. That is somebody being born, going to elementary school, high school, college, possibly getting married and having kids, and so that's how long it's been. This report has not been acted upon. There's an effort to work and bring justice around this by many groups, including famous doctor in the Congo, Dr. Denis Mukwege, and and a number of other organizations, including the sponsors of this talk that work on this, that we'll talk about a little bit more. So also on this very program, Our Stories, Our Survival, the last person to get on those boats to cross into Brazzaville actually was on this. He gave testimony on this program along with you, Delphine, JP, Jean-Pierre. He was on here months ago, and he testified on how he was the very last person that the Congolese people put on a boat, and as soon as he left, everybody else that was left behind, was killed. So
Yes.
just wanted to go ahead and share that also. Keep going.
Thank you very much. Gatebuke. Actually, another thing I would like to mention it before I get it to Kinshasa is that the refugees who fled into the forest in Congo, RPF actually had a budget of buying Rwandan Hutu refugees and the Rwanda phone. These are Hutus from Masisi. Anyone who speaks Kinyarwanda, buying them from the Congolese people so that they are handed over to RPF and killed. Actually, each refugee cost $50. So that's how they managed to get many refugees together and killed them in the masses, and they buried them in the mass graves. It's because they bought them from some Congolese families which had been protecting them. But when they had the money is coming, they just started selling us out to RPF. That is very, very important to mention, because people don't know that actually we were bought, we were auctioned to be killed. That's how far RPF can go to make sure that they kill it. So they had to pay money to refugees, to Congolese, to buy Rwandan Hutu refugees so that they could be slaughtered. That's what happened in Congo. So
that's so very sad and disturbing to hear that, people auctioned, like goats and, waiting to be slaughtered. That's very sad. Yeah. But
at first the Congolese hid many Rwandan families. But when the money came in, General Nyamwasa, it's good to say these things. You see, people sometimes they come and pretend here that they wanted to save refugees, and yet they are the root causes of the miseries that Hutu refugees have been going through. We have to be honest. Nyamwasa was a part and a parcel of all these killings. There is no doubt about it. So those who defend him, well and good. And unfortunately, I know some people who lived with us in Kinshasa being slaughtered. This time who supported Nyamwasa, me, I will never, because he killed us until he comes and he explains himself why he had to kill innocent people. Majority of the people were innocent. You cannot say over 4 million Rwandans participated in the killings of the Tutsis. No. Majority of the refugees were innocent. So why did Nyamwasa go all the way to Congo to slaughter them, to the point even buys them, auctions them, the same way that the slaves were auctioned 500 years ago, so that we are... And then we arrived in Kinshasa. So when I arrived in Kinshasa, the only thing I had actually was the Bible. The only thing I didn't leave behind was the Bible. So when we arrived in Kinshasa, then everybody was living in Kinshasa, and we wanted to find a humanitarian organization that can host us. So we went to Belgian embassy, and we told them we are Rwandans, we are students, we are here, we have been fleeing the RPF. Now, please help us. The Belgians said, no, go to French embassy. We Belgians, we don't support Interahamwe. That's what they actually said. we don't support interim. We said, but we are not interim. We are just refugees here. He said, no, we don't care. So when we went to France embassy in Kinshasa.
William, for the audience, the Interahamwe was the militia that committed killings against Tutsis in the genocide in 1994 in Rwanda. So they were referring to refugees as Interahamwe, basically to dehumanize them and call them criminals, even though they were just ordinary people. This is basically propaganda. Proceed with the embassy visit.
Yeah, thank you very much. One of the things that probably should clarify here is that the thing that the Western media did effectively to support RPF regime is to dehumanize Hutu refugees and rebrand them so that if there is any kind of organization that would like, or anyone who would like to support Hutu refugees, will not do that. The Western media, the Western humanitarian organizations consultatively worked hard to dehumanize Rwandan Hutu refugees all over we went. And that they did it effectively. And it is something that has impacted us as Rwandan refugees for many years. So it wasn't done by default, it's by design, because the Kagame backers knew very well that the only way that they could succeed, it was first branding us, all of us, all the Rwandans, as killers. And even the innocent children, the fact that you are Hutu, it automatically made you a criminal. So they successfully done that. So when we were in Kinshasa, we wanted to go to humanitarian organizations. The only place we were told was the UN, United Nations headquarters. So as we were moving from Quartier Gombe, for those who know Kinshasa, we arrived at the junction of Limete and Saint-Paul Avenue. And once we arrived there, actually, we were three or four with the other guys we were running with, Rwandans. And one of them was actually a Masisi, a Rwandan from Masisi. So as we were running, then we reached there, we meet this group of RPF soldiers being celebrated and the Congolese dancing. And unfortunately, we were stopped. And they were speaking in Rwanda. So we were stopped and then they say, where are you going? We asked, then the RPF soldier asked the Congolese to ask us in Lingara of where we were heading to. So we said in French, we avoided anything to do with Kinyarwanda. So we said in French and Lingara that we are actually going to celebrate for the victory of RPF. And they say, as you can see, I had a Bible. As you can see, I'm a pastor here, and we have a crusade that I'm going to preach, and so that we could celebrate your victory, and everybody is happy. Then, unfortunately, probably the RPF Tutsi soldier sensed something, and they said, could you ask him to open that thing he had? So it was a Bible which was very well packaged and covered. So you could think it was like a device. So probably a photography device. So he said, open. To open in that Bible, I had the photos of my relatives who were soldiers. So who were senior officers in the XFA. One of them was the wedding of Major Pilot, Major Pilot Tizabos Aron. For those people who come from Rwanda or who know him. And his brother Captain Marcel and Ndagijimana. So those were the photos when they had a wedding. And you remember when the soldiers, ex-fire soldiers, had a wedding, everybody was in a uniform. So I had those photos.
So if you can just quickly clarify the ex-father, you referring to the army of the former government, the
Habyarimana's government.
Yes. Government, yes. Yeah, please proceed.
Yes. Yeah. So, and also I had the photos of Melchior Ndadaye burial day, the ceremony when he was being buried. So all three things were supposed to sell me out and be decapitated right there and then. So, and when I opened the Bible, it was the Bible, all the photos, I don't know which miracle or angel who came, all the photos fell on the road, face down, all of them. And then I said, you see, it's a photo, but it's shaking. You see, these are the photos. And they said, pick them and go and they do the crusade and the fellowship at the big camp, prayer camp. So I picked them the same way they were facing down, and they put them into the Bible again, and they closed the Bible and they went. When the other guys realized that I was held, remained behind, the other three guys were together. They sneaked out and they disappeared. So I was alone there to be decapitated. So then I took the photos and the Bible then went. And a voice came from nowhere. Imagine I was like 20 meters away from them. And I started even singing in Kinyarwanda. Can you imagine? And I started, it was in the evening, I started singing, there is a song, a hymnal song which says that the good tidings. So I started singing that song and went, and the guys heard me where they were hiding themselves in a fence, and they came and asked me, what happened? I said, I don't even know. Let's go. So we went to UN headquarters. And when we arrived there were other refugees who were hiding there, Rwandan refugees who were hiding there. Then the RPF, we stayed there for a week. RPF started coming for us. So they could take women and girls and they rape them the whole night there. And you could hear the women crying, being raped. So that time, I was tiny, and also people used to think that I'm from West Africa. So I never spoke it in Rwanda. Even the Rwandans who were there never knew. I only spoke French. And so I called myself a priest. That I used a pastor. I used to have a church, just the Reverend's mission in Kinshasa. So I stayed there until a French guy who realized that the RPF was going to kill, because they used to come and pick people. I know someone will watch this that I know who lived in that building. So they used to come and pick people every day, Rwandans, refugees, and they go and kill them. And they never. I remember one family, they took the father, and the father never came. The woman was always crying every day. And when the kids, those kids were between 5 and 11, always asking, where is daddy? Where papa? Every time. So she could cry. Then this guy, a French guy who was in charge of the security of the building, the UN building, and the logistics in Kinshasa, said, I know RPF is going to kill you. If they have continued coming here, the next time they will just kill every refugee here. And you know that they are also attacking us. So there is no way I can protect you here. The best way, I have negotiated with the Congolese and paid them $400 to take some of you across the river into Congo Brazzaville. So one day he organized that boat, and it was a canoe actually, and we crossed. We went and crossed over into Congo Brazzaville. So that's how I left Kinshasa. Then Kinshasa, we went to Biroro. I won't talk much about the Congo Brazzaville. It was hunger after hunger. The director of Red Cross there in Congo Brazzaville was a Rwandese Tutsi. He told us, "You will never have a food in this place as long as I'm the director of Red Cross." He told us live. When we were at the Red Cross compound, said, "We will never." And you thought that you are fleeing, and you don't know that we are everywhere. So now, So we went to Birolo. Birolo, we survived on what was called the Chikwanga, a very big cassava put together. And what? So then we started going all the way. Then they started fighting in Congo, Brazzaville. So we headed to Gabon. On my way to Gabon, I arrived in a place called Ngo. Those people who know that place. Then after Ngo, you have to cross desert. There is a desert between Congo, Brazzaville, and the Congo and the Gabon. By the time I arrived at the last point, actually, we started going into the desert. The only thing we carried was water and kwanga. So because it was a 2 days journey, walking. And by the time we got into the middle of the desert, I got malaria and became so sick, to the point even I couldn't walk. So the guys who were with me realized that they cannot continue going on my pace because I was so sick and we were running out of water. And so I told them, instead all of us, for you waiting for me, then you run out of water, we all die. It looks like this is my day. God wants me to die in a foreign land. So this is my day, this is where I'm going to die. If you survive, bring, and you find anyone of my family still alive, tell them that this is where I died. So they gave me water, a bottle of water, then went. So I was so weak, then went and slept next to a bush. There is a saying in Rwanda that's saying, "Tamupfu urenga buvumo." So I went and just slept next to this bush. It was not even a bush; it was a kind of brush. And actually went like something like a coma. And they stayed there alone. And I wonder why even the wild animals didn't come and eat me. And they said that there were very many leopards in that desert. So I stayed there in the middle of the night. And a voice came to me and said, "Wake up." And when I woke up, and I saw, when a car is very, very far at night, you see the spotlight. So I saw something like a spotlight, very, very far. And so I said, that must be a car. So I started, because of the cold, I had also got some kind of strength. I started crawling toward the path. It was in the desert. In the desert, there is no road, no specific road, but I was near where the cars, which used to traffic oil from Gabon to Congo, used to pass by. So I went a crowd went into the middle of that path, a kind of tracks. So I said, it's a trail, a kind of a trail. So I said, it's better this car comes and just crush me instead of being eaten by animals here. So I went and lay in that trail, and the car came. And when the car came and saw, I lifted my hand, and they saw that it was a human being. Then they dived and they passed me. So when they passed me, I said, God, if you have decided that I die here, let them go. So when I finished that prayer, the car reversed and it came and to where I was. I couldn't even talk. I was dehydrated, exhausted. I couldn't even talk and shivering because of malaria. They talked to me. I couldn't respond. They brought water and they gave me water. Then they lifted me and they put me at the back of the pickup. So drove with me, and after like 4 hours or 6 hours, they arrived at my colleagues who had left. That's how far they had gone. So they said, we have someone here. Do you know him? Said, yeah, that was our colleague, and he's sick. Please take him. So that's how I crossed over into Gabon. We arrived at a place called Likoni. When we arrived at Likoni, that's in a province which is near Bongoville. And by the time we arrived there was a newspaper written by Rwandan Tutsi refugees who lived there, talking about us and demonizing us and saying, these Interahamwe are coming here. Please make sure you don't receive them. You have to chase them away, such kind of things. The newspaper, the first day we arrived there was that newspaper. So everybody hated us. Everybody hated us. So then we were taken to Bongoville. Once we arrived in Bongoville, then we stayed there, and the Rwanda dispatched, and also the Bakas dispatched people, delegates, to come and negotiate how they could take the refugees back to Rwanda by force. So, and there was a UNHCR representative. She was we heard that she was from Cameroon, and she was called Louise. And Louise came and said, no, we cannot take you back to Rwanda, because we know refugees who are being taken back to Rwanda are being butchered. We have reports, incredible reports. Therefore, we cannot take you back. Then she convinced us to go to the airport called the Mvenge International Airport in Libreville. So we were taken to Libreville, Mvenge International Airport. When we were there, we saw Charles Kayonga. Charles Kayonga was already there. So those people who knew him said that is Charles Kayonga talking to Louise. So we know things are really going to be bad. So then they said, no, the decisions have made that we should take you actually back to Rwanda. So, and they started beating us, raping women. Women were raped there at Mvenge. Women and people were killed actually at the airport at Mvenge. So I was wearing a white shirt, and I was hit. I was hit here. I have a scar here by a soldier who hit me using the back of the gun. And I started bleeding. So because I started bleeding in a white shirt, everywhere became red.
Well, William, when the soldier beat you, was it before or after Rwandan General Charles Kayonga arrived?
Yes,
I also think it's
yes.
important for the audience to know General Charles Kayonga is one of the highest ranking military members in Rwanda today with Paul Kagame. He's also in the reports, the invasion of the M23 of the Congo, where he and General James Kabarebe and General Jacques Nziza. So this is General Charles Kayonga that I'm speaking about. The three of them were leading that invasion and the rebellion. That's also in the UN reports and many of the invasions. But I was checking, wondering, when they started beating you down and raping the women, and that is so horrible. But when they did that, was it before Charles Kayonga was there, or was it after?
No, the guy was there actually drinking beer and eating a brochette, enjoying himself. There is a hotel nearby at the airport where you could see where we were. So as we were beaten, Kayonga and Louise were just enjoying the brochette and the beer, called the beer, as we were bleeding to death. So women were raped that night, and we were beaten the whole night and the whole morning. So when the soldier injured me on the forehead, I bled because I was in white. So when I bled, all the blood came to my shirt. So everything was red. So as they were beating us, I rolled into the blood also of other people because there was a pool of blood. Then they thought I was dead. That's when they stopped beating me. So I stayed there as a dead person, breathing slowly, and so that they could not continue beating me. Then they just packed us into the plane and took us back to Rwanda. So when we arrived in Rwanda, we were taken into torture chambers. We were never seen again. So in Kigali, in the torture chamber, I remember entering that.
Wait. I think you just went a little too fast. You were taken from Gabon, and now you're talking about Kigali. Kigali is in Rwanda. So you flew back across that country, the Congo, which is the size of the United States, east of the Mississippi, or a third of Australia, or a third of Canada, or a third of China, right? A third of Brazil.
Yes.
Okay. So now you're back to Rwanda with General Charles Kayonga.
Yes. So after walking over 6,000 miles on foot, we arrived in Congo, Brazzaville, Franceville. We were tortured and forcibly deported by UNHCR, which hired, actually the plane which took us back, it was called the Mali Airways. Mali, from Mali as a country, from Mali. That's what the UNHCR hired to take us back to Rwanda. So when we arrived at the Kanombe International Airport, my friend, we knew this is the end. So we could see them, those guys, and they came and they told us, now we are going to slaughter you one by one. And so you thought by fleeing all the way, crossing Congo, walking all the way to Gabon, would save you from us. Now you are here. We are everywhere. So then we were taken into the torture chambers. And when we were taken into the chambers, I remember the first day, as we entered, actually, one called, we used to call him Hassan.
William, your connection, is it your connection? We cannot hear you properly.
Oh, I think there was the internet. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yeah. So you're just saying that we remember, but I didn't get what you said. Yeah.
So I remember when we arrived in Kigali, then when we were being holding into that torture chamber, one guy called the Ajida Chef Hassan. We used to call him Bikorwa. So the guy said, he was giving instructions. I wanted to see 40 dead bodies every day. So once we entered there, we knew we were going to be slaughtered. But the question was, who is going to go fast? So I prayed to go fast. Always I wanted to be killed fast so that I don't see how other people are being killed. It was a torture. It was a torturing experience. I always prayed to be killed first. Then we went for interview. So when we went for interview, there were three guys, young guys who were in the 20s. And so they were interviewing me and saying, so you were in a school so that one day you can rule Rwanda and prevent us from coming back to Rwanda. And said, no, I was just a boy studying like anybody else. So they put a rope around my neck. I have 2 scars here on my neck. Then they squeezed the rope and they wanted to like break my my neck. And I put my 2 hands here so that I couldn't breathe. Then the rope actually injured me at the back. I have 2 scars. Those who know me can see those scars. So, and then I lost the conscience and they pushed me there. When I regained the conscience, they continued, said I was pretending. And they actually had lost breath. And then they bent me and one held this big chains. Those who know Rwanda, the Rwandan kind of prisons, they use these big chains and the chain, metallic chains. So one was standing in front of me, another one bent me. The one standing in front of me bent me. Then another one hit me with that chain. So I coughed blood and I coughed blood. So I thought I was dead. So they laughed. They were so happy. They laughed seeing this guy coughing blood. And then I started bleeding from the ears and also from my mouth, spitting blood, coughing blood. And then I lost the conscience and they took me back to the torture chamber. So in that torture chamber, I remember they used to beat us 3 times a day. They used to call it breakfast and lunch and supper every day until we got used to it. So when they didn't come to beat us, actually, we were wondering what is going on. How come these people have not come to beat us? So they enjoyed, they used to put like 100 soldiers where we were held and they beat us with anything. So it was like exercise for them. Beat whether you are hit in the head, whether you are hit in the eye, so beat us thoroughly. And by the time they leave, blood is all over. So when we were not beaten, actually, we used to wonder what's going on. But I always say that there is also an angel in hell. In that process, there was another guy called the Pokeza. It's good I mentioned this. A Tutsi guy who was a surgeon called the Pokeza. Pokeza was a part of a fellowship group for Abarokore. It was born again, Abarokore. So they had a fellowship group. They wanted to do something, but they didn't know how to do it. So what the Pokeza did, whenever he came, we knew the angel had come. That day, we were never beaten, but they used it to pour a lot of water into the torture chamber. That was his method of giving us access to water, but also for him to protect himself, to be seen that he's torturing us using water. So his soldiers used it to come and pour a lot of water on us. So that was an opportunity for us to wash ourselves using the water and drink it. Even though we were staying in that water, we could drink it. So whenever Pokeza came, it was really, really a celebration day for us. Although he used it to pour a lot of water, but it used it to be an opportunity for us to access water. So one day they killed us. I remember one day spending a week with 80 bodies, which were starting to decompose. So the bodies, I still remember the name. One was Gilbert Hategekimana from Kiombe. Another one was Kagabo from Ndusu, Gatonde. Another one was Pascal Rwamuninge from Mpuri. Another one was a guy from Charles, called the Charles from Rwankeri. Others were from Kibuye, others were from Cyangugu, like Mushi, a guy we used to call Mushi from Cyangugu, other guys from Kibungo, other guys from Gitarama. I remember like a guy called Saimana from Gitarama, a guy called Hitayezo from Gitarama, and many guys. So those bodies, until those bodies started rotting, we were with them. And you knew this was Rwamuningi, Pascal from Mukamira, people I knew, the people.
I don't know if
yeah, looks like we lost connection for a second, so we'll give William a little bit of time to get back. But Delphine, this is horrible. It looks like we lost him. Hopefully he'll be right back. In the meantime, maybe we can just start, we can go over some of your comments in the audience.
Oh yes.
They're
from the story, it's just horrific. But let me just try to read some of the comments.
One second. If you would check your screen, you should have them.
Sure. Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's so horrible to hear such stories, but they're so real and so true for so many Rwandans. It's just, yeah, it's horrible. Yeah.
Yeah, and also Delphine, I'm sure some of this reminds you of places that where you were. I didn't live in the Congo for that long, or travel across the Congo, but I recognize some of the places. Children, millions of children. This war that was the invasion of Rwanda and Uganda in the Congo has taken the lives of more than 6 million people, the majority of them being children under the age of 5. That is something to consider. And William was just getting into what happened to him in Rwanda. He was tortured when he got back to Rwanda. The same players that he's talking about, Kagame, the Kagame that's known as a so-called Pan-Africanist. There's no Pan-Africanist that kills people like that. There is, the James Kabarebe, who both him and Kagame have denied the atrocities in the Congo. General Nyamwasa, who wants to become a president of Rwanda to replace, his fellow butcher, Paul Kagame, Charles Kayonga, and many others. And Delphine, let me know if you're ready with the comments. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, as William is talking, I didn't want to sort of think about mine, because sometimes when you're talking about our histories, you're like, oh my God, mine was nothing compared to his. But I could, kind of, especially when in the beginning, obviously I didn't see or experience half of what he experienced, but I could remember the camps, the refugee camps, and running, and being a child, like a young person, like really running through the jungle and just being thirsty and hungry and everything, and it was just horrible. But also there was something that struck me, like the tactics they used to invade the camps. Even though he was talking about a different camp, like in Kibumba, which is like North Kivu. But my family and I were in Katare camp, and they came at night as well. So I think it was a strategy for them to make sure that they have, as many people as they can. So anyway, it's horrible. Yeah, let's read some comments.
The surrounding of people, Delphine, where they would surround people and get in front of them and kill them. And they use infiltration tactics where they would have people who would distract those who were trying to flee, make them run around in circles, and then the troops would come in and kill the people. people who lived in the refugee camps with those refugees were the ones who started, killing them with hammers and knives in some of those cases. So yeah, please proceed. Yeah.
Thank you. Let me try to read some comments here. Thanks everyone who's following us. I mean, as hard as this testimony is, but this is so real in this so many people's history. Rudwan Amen said, if the Honorable Patrice Lumumba had not been murdered, do you think these and other genocidal atrocities in this area would have occurred? Good question. Yeah, that's, I guess, something for everyone to think about. Odette Murekatete, thank you, Dr. William, for sharing your story. It's inspiring to hear that some of you survived. God protected you for reasons. Yes. Yes, I would add that God protected, William, Dr. William, and other people and us, we survived so that we can tell our stories. Yes, so that's very true. Denise Mikanya, I really feel butterflies in my womb hearing those horrific stories. IPF guys have a different heart composition or what? I really don't. Yeah. You feel so sick in your stomach hearing this. Yeah, I agree. So sad. Origine Janti said, oh my God, what horror. So sorry, Dr. Williams. Living that as a kid, all this is before 94. I think she was talking about the beginning of William's journey. This photo target is in 1991. Until these criminals are brought to justice, we won't rest. I'm still shocked to hear these crimes. So sorry to all Rwandese who passed through Inzirandende. Inzirandende is like a long journey. And Congolese people who lost their lives. Why did RPF treat Rwandans in this inhumane way? My God, innocent refugee. William's story is incredibly sad. These criminals must pay. Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Urujeni. I think we have William back.
Sorry, technology is good when it works. When it doesn't.
Yes, William, and we have to keep, pick up the pace. We're running out of broadcast time. Yeah. If you can continue with, your story is horrible, but if you can, continue with the torture and surviving Rwanda, and maybe we can get into, your resilience afterwards. But again, time is not our best friend, as our great friend Shaka Sali said.
Sorry this up. So when we were in Kigali, actually, they killed us. It was a pleasure to see how we were looking miserable, dying, in a very painful. I remember one of the things, they used to have something called a muchechu. Muchechu is this drum, the metallic drum. How do you call it? This drum that you bring the oil in, the drums. Is there another personal what? Ingunguru. I don't know how.
A barrel. It's a barrel.
Oh, a barrel. Yeah, a barrel. So we used to have this barrel that, which was cut half. That was our washroom and the toilet. So we used all to go there. You have people who are more than 600 actually in this small confinement. This confinement go in a corner, that's where. But we used not to go to the toilet. That's a good thing about it, because they never gave us food. Actually, if they gave us food, it was just a corn, boiled corn, a handful of corn. So that's what they used to give us. So I can tell you how many corns can fill my palm, because for years, actually, that's what they used to. So the corn, the boiled corn or the boiled maize that they used to give us as food, actually we later turned it into currency. The reason is that inside there, people were next to the wall. It was warmer, so especially when the sun was setting. So, and also there was a small wind, which was very, very fast. So someone who sat to that angle actually could access the sun from that window. So in order to have an opportunity to use that, to feel that sun, we use it to pay corns. Those are grains. So probably like 10 minutes is 10 grains. So you take out of your daily meal, which is just a handful. Actually, it was 167, between 167 to 200. When you were given 200, you were the richest inside there. So you could take 10 out of it and give it to that guy, then you go and stay there. And another thing is that the muchechu, if you are given an opportunity to carry the toilet with the waste in the morning to go and pour it outside, it was actually a blessing for you. So it was a competitive job to carry that thing. But because we were so weak, the muchechu used it to be carried like 10 young men. And then we take it out there and then wash it. To wash it, we used not to wash it using water because they didn't want us to have access to water. We used to wash it using the sand. So then in the process of the sand, that's when we used it to harvest some grasses. In Rwanda, there are these grasses called the bugurugwinuma. They are salty. So they didn't know, they came to realize later, we used to harvest those kind of herbs and the grasses and bring them inside, then eat them as a source of salt. Then we used also to look at the fine soil and put it, as we are washing it, then we put it there and bring it. So some RPF soldiers didn't want us to bring the soil inside because they knew we could eat it and live longer. So they didn't want even us to bring that one. So when they realized that we were not dying as fast as they wanted, they did the research. Where we were being tortured, we were with the children. I remember a kid called Amani, and another kid, they were 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Another kid who was there with his two brothers from Kibuye.
You are sitting in a jam-packed, like sardine in this cell with a whole bunch of people, almost like the little cells where they used to hold the slaves that they sent to the Americas. Yeah, and you had children in there also. And it was so bad, they wouldn't even let you eat dirt.
No, actually, they couldn't allow us to eat soy because that's the only thing that we had to survive on. So I was explaining how they came to know that we eat soy. And there was a broken toilet inside where they had put us, which was rusted and then broken. Then the water was used to bubble up. So that's the water in the toilet we used to drink. So the time they had set for us to die, we didn't die. So they started investigating. So they took these kids. There is also another kid who used to be called the Ndangamira from Kibungo. They asked him, how come you are not dying and yet you don't eat? Then the guy, because he was just innocent kid, he said, oh, so you think you in Kotanyi know better than us? We have our own way of surviving. You see, when we go out in the morning, when you send a group of us out to dump the waste in the morning, we put soil, fine soil, and clay in that near the toilet in that barrel, and they bring it inside. And we also harvest the bugurugwinuma for salt. So once we are inside there, we share that. That's what we do. That's how then where we drink water, there is a broken toilet there. So there is water bubbling there. That's how. So they had given this guy mandas. So the guy was enjoying telling the story. My friend, after that day, you don't know Ingotany. These people, my friend, they closed everything, every taps, and went and they brought the gravier. I don't know how you call them. Gravier, this sand.
Gravel. Yeah.
Yeah,
rock.
the rocks. They brought these gravels to and they poured where we used to get the soil from. And they cut everything. And then they went across the pipe, which used to bring the water in the toilet that we used to drink. So they cut everything dry. Then, my friend, we started dying like flies, one by one. You go to the mukechuru to help yourself in the toilet, you die there. People used to die seated because the heart couldn't pump. There was no fluid in our bodies. So when you are there, when you are trying to push, the heart couldn't pump anything because there was nothing. So people died. People died talking. I remember three guys, one of them saying, actually, I'm going to die. The problem is that God is taking too long. And they said, no, don't say that. Said, yeah, today I will die. And the guy, when we went to Muchechu, the guy didn't come back. He died there. So we were killed to the point it became normal. You knew tomorrow it was day. So there is one day they wanted to kill many of us. What they did is that actually they made sure denied us food for 198 hours. That's like from Sunday to Monday. And then when they brought food, and we couldn't actually, we were so emaciated, we couldn't even be able to crowd to the sack where they used to bring the food in. So those who were still strong crowd to the sack, and they took food and they took the first bite. It was actually lentils, salt lentils. They had put like salt like 100 times salt, and they knew there was no water. So every guy who arrived at that sack full of lentils first died because the first bite they swallowed, and it choked them and they died. So that day, many people died. So one day, as they continued to kill us, they came up with a strategy that those who are almost dying actually should be removed and taken to the mortuary. So I was taken to the mortuary. When I was taken to the mortuary with other people, and we stayed there waiting to die. And there was this group of people that actually helped us. This group of soldiers who were Christians, born again Christians, Tutsi soldiers who used to be with this guy called the Pokeza. So they started coming to that mortuary where they had put us to die, because one day what happened actually is that the RPF came and threw grenade among us to maximize the casualties. So I sustained the injuries on my leg. I bled the little blood which was remaining in me, and they thought I was dead. Therefore, they took me to the mortuary. So when I got to the mortuary, then they thought I was dead, and they stayed there. Those people started bringing us the water, and then someone saw us. And when someone saw us, actually those people used to bring us salt, water, which are the salt and sugar. We gave them letters to take it to our relatives. So that's how international organizations came to know our whereabouts. But the majority of the people had been killed. And when they came to know our whereabouts, and so it started going into the media. And they now took us to Ingando. Those who were actually remaining, a few of us, they took us to Ingando. And
yeah, just so the audience knows what that is, it's basically indoctrination camps to basically get people indoctrinated with the propaganda or the policies of the RPF, the Rwandan Patriotic Front, which is led by Paul Kagame. And William, I'm sorry to speed this up some more, but yes, please do tell us about, getting through that in Gando, and we want to talk a little bit about what's going on with you now, and then we'll have to, unfortunately, broadcast time is running out with the studio.
No problem. Me too. I have another assignment to attend. So when we went to Gando, then I went, and when I went to home. They had killed almost everybody. They had destroyed their houses. I remember one family called, this guy who was our neighbor, they came and destroyed, killed everybody. A guy called the Kajumba and his entire family. They killed almost everybody. They destroyed completely in the house, and his in-laws. They went there and destroyed. So people in that region, in Ruhengeri, they were killed in caves. So when the RPF in 96, 97, and 98 was killing Ruhengeri, in that campaign they call the panda tobacco, or plant the tobacco, people fled into the caves, like caves of Mbandama, Nyarugina, Musanze caves, and the other many caves, the Nyakinama caves. So the RPF came there and killed the people inside there, and they also destroyed the caves, so that the caves are no longer there. There are no evidence at all. So my father was in one cave, and with my siblings, actually the RPF came where they had fled into the caves with other people. Then they put the fire and the smoke, and they put the oil so that there is a smoke, and they put the sulfur into the cave so that the smoke could smoke them out. My dad actually and my siblings actually didn't live long. And so that's how they killed the people in that region. And when you go around northern Rwanda, there are no people, older people of my age. All of them, they have been killed in Songamana. And that Songamana was led by General Kayumba Nyamwasa. So to come here and tell us that actually...
You're talking the same Nyamwasa who came in 1991. This is like 6-7 years later, right?
Nyamwasa has been killing Rwandans since the 90s or 91 in Ruhengeri, then in 96 in Congo, all the way in Congo, killing us all the way. Now in 97 and 98 in Ruhengeri, is the one actually leading the campaign to wipe out all the Hutus in northern Rwanda, they planted tobacco. So if you go in that region, you cannot find people of my age or older, only babies who were born, who are in the 20s right now. Those are the people living there. Their parents were all killed. If you go there, people will tell you they cannot speak, but that's the truth. The truth is that the Ruhengeri and Gisenyi were supposed to be a tobacco plantation location that they wanted to establish in that region. So then people survived because some of them fled all the way to Congo, and then FDR also came and they launched the campaigns which showed that the RPF actually people, as the RPF continues killing people, more people were joining FDR. So until later, when after killing so many people in my family, my dad had over 27 kids because dad had many wives. I'm the only one remaining. If anyone has any evidence of anyone, I was even among the youngest because my mother is not the first wife or second or third. The children of the first wife, the second wife and third wife, they are not there. They were killed all by RPF. So my dad was killed by RPF by burning him into the caves, and my siblings, my immediate siblings, without talking about my staple siblings. So people have been killed, but no justice. So to cut the story short, then what the RPF does is that they release you, then they kill you outside. When the sessions they start complaining about you, then they release you, then let you out. So we were released. This guy called, who was the guy in charge of Ingando? This guy, the politician who has been there during the Habyarimana's regime. Ruchagu. So the Ruchagu came and told us the story of how Kagame imprisoned him. And he was walking from Kigali on foot all the way Shorongi and somewhere. He went home on foot, and now he's in the government and working for government. So he started training us and brainwashing us. Then after brainwashing us, so went and when I arrived at home, they had destroyed completely our house. So I was living in this kind of makeshift next to our house. And then one day they came to kill me, and someone told me actually they will kill you because they don't want your story to go out. They know that they have done to you. You see how they have killed almost everybody in your family. These people will still kill you here now. They have a control over it. So someone helped me and organized me to go to Uganda, from Uganda to Kenya. So I ended up in Kenya, in the refugee camp in Kenya. So actually,
wow. Yeah. Oh my God.
The night that they came to kill me, someone had told me I went and slept in Ndusu. From then I went all the way to Uganda.
Wow, what a journey it has been. But also, before we proceed, we just wanted to say sorry for your loss. For your dad, your siblings, your whole family, everyone you've lost on the way. May they rest in peace. And I guess there's a lot to say about your journey, but I guess thank God for protecting you, and now you're here telling us your story, testifying about how you survived. Yeah, and I guess fast forwarding, because the time is not on our side. Hold on, we're probably gonna we'll run a quick video before we try to end. Yeah, so I just wanted to, Claude, can you talk to us about this quick material we're going to share before we go towards the end, please?
Yeah, before we transition, Delphine, just in case there are people who may not believe what William is sharing, especially about the wiping out of people and killing people in the caves in northern Rwanda, we have a video. There's a video in the studio that actually shows Rwandan troops around those caves and what was happening at that time, including Rwanda's former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Richard Sezibera, minimizing the atrocities, saying that only a handful of people that died in that place, that the RPF was responsible for those people. And of course, this is one of the dehumanizing tactics and techniques where the RPF, William talked about it, where he said, they refer to them as mass murderers, the Interahamwe, and now the minimizing of the killings of people, which was also done by another person who was also a former Minister of Foreign Affairs in Rwanda when the Kibeho massacre happened and the Congo massacres happened. His name is Anastase Gasana. So this is part and parcel of the RPF's game plan to cause confusion and misinformation. But here we go. We have the video showing what William just described.
Yeah, and also Gatebuke, what I wanted to say, among that caves, actually my uncle was taken from the pulpit in the suburbs near that cave, and we have never seen him. His name was Samuel Baziraki. People can go and research about him. He was picked from the church on that day where those scars were found in that cave.
Yes, if we can run the clip. Yes. Thank you for running that clip. William, if anybody did not believe what you were saying, they just saw it with their own eyes from cameras of the media. So let me just hand it back over to Delphine so we can proceed. Thank you for giving us the time to transition and also show that video, Delphine.
Thank you so much, Claude. And again, thank you so much, William, Dr. William. It's not easy to share such a story, but I was thinking, you know, there's sharing it, but also there's people who've lived it and people who live with those memories, with the trauma every single day. So I thank you so much for taking your time and sharing this with us. And I guess to go towards the end and to add to I guess, a lighter note, or I don't know, some inspiration, because hearing what you've been through, hearing how many times you literally said that's it, I'm done, that's it, I'm dead, and that was it, until you were in they took you to a mortuary, but still you survived. You know, I guess that's the Bible that you had that have been keeping you all the time, but you survived so that you can be here today and tell us your story, and that's really, really appreciated. But also to end towards you know, where you are at now, you know, talk to us about where you are, who you are, what you do, kind of to, you know, try to end to, you know, a positive note, I guess, if there's a such a thing as endings. The story is not gonna finish, but we're gonna try to, I guess, to wrap it up. Yeah, talk to us about where you are at today and your resilience. Talk us to through what you are doing now, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Delphine and Gatebuke, and also the Mutwara TV for hosting me and giving me this opportunity to share. In the last almost 30 years, actually, I haven't been able to share with anyone, including my family, what I went through, because it was horrific, but also sometimes when you sit back and look back, that's when you understand what God was doing. When I was in a torture chamber, actually, that's the time that my family was killed. Most of members of my family were killed. There are no doubts that if I was not in the torture chamber that time, although I didn't want it, I've been killed with my siblings and my dad, and other people that they killed from my village at that time. Then when I went to Kenya, life was not that easy. I went into a refugee camp of Kakuma. So in Kakuma, when I arrived there, I realized that there were refugees who had been living there for the last 20 years. Some of them went there as a young boy as me, and they got married there and they had the kids. So I asked myself, now what next? Am I going to stay here for the next 25 years and they marry here and they have kids and in the same another kind of concentration camp? So one day I decided to leave the camp and go to Nairobi. So in Nairobi, I ended up on a street in Nairobi begging for scavenging for food and also begging. I met this wonderful person from Sierra Leone who was working as a bishop in Kenya. And so he told me that I didn't look like a beggar. And I told him actually I'm a very qualified beggar. So he said, I would like you to have a chat with you one day. So he gave me $20. And that $20 was a lot of money I ever got. So I went and ate mandazi and Nairobi and bought some Coca-Cola and drank and enjoyed and had a feast with my friends and forgot about it. But one day came back and said, would you like to go to church with me? And so we went to church with him. And from there, we went for lunch with him in his house where he was living in the Westlands. So when I arrived at his place, I wanted to remove the shoes I had because I was so that day. That now you can imagine someone who has been walking for kilometers with the dust and everywhere. So I wanted to remove the shoes when I arrived at his house because his house looked so nice. He said, no, don't you remove the shoes. As we received the guests, as they come here. So they made me feel comfortable. Then they told me, we realized that actually what you need, you are a very bright person. What you need is just a boost. And we would like to hold your hand and help you move forward and see what God has in store for you. So he sponsored my education, started learning English and also learning some computer skills and language. And then after that, I went to school, got documentation, academic documentation, and then they helped me join a university in Kenya. So when I went to university, everything was paid for, the same way that the Bible tells us that Jesus paid it all for us. So everything was paid for. So it was my first time to enjoy a meal and sleep on a nice bed and also be like a human being again. So when I was there in the university, I did very well. Academically, I did very well. I made friends, then I continued there and finished my education. When I finished my education in one of this university in Kenya, then I got a job with the Office of the President, Cabinet Affairs in the Republic of Kenya. So to me, the first salary, people don't know this. The first salary I didn't spend the first salary because I thought that this is a trap. There's no way. So I started there with some money and got a lot of money. Then got money to go and look for my mother who was in Congo at that time. Then from there, got a scholarship to go and do my studies in the US and worked in the US. After sometimes got another prestigious scholarship to go and do my PhD in Australia. So that's my story, and that's how I became a doctor. And I thank God for everything.
Wow, that's so inspiring, and that's so it's a bit funny the way it was too good to be true when you got your first salary, but that's wow, you came a long way. And can you talk to us? Just it's not funny, but it's inspiring how many times you counted, like you physically like. This is how many times I thought I was dead. And that's, just before we finished to where you are, you're a doctor now, you are doing amazing job and everything. But can you 1 minute talk to us about how many times?
Actually, one day when I was relaxing, I counted the incidents where I thought actually it's over now. These guys are going to kill me. So there is a time I started looking at my body. Lying in the blood, in a pool of blood, saying this is me now. The story is done. And when I counted those kind of moments, actually I find that over 112 times RPF wanted to kill me. Where I said it's over now, actually, where I had surrendered, they said now these guys are going to kill me. There is miracle did happen. And one of those incidents is we were actually in Sake, crossing, going to the hill of Sake, where Nyamwasa had the soldiers. So as we were crossing from one place from one bush to another bush to hide ourselves from the rockets from RPF soldiers. In front of me, there was this elderly woman. So, and we were standing on this rock. And between us and the next rock, there was a cave. A very, very, you couldn't even see at the bottom of the cave. So if you misstepped, you went into the belly of the earth, where magma is. So as we were trying, the elder woman was not so sure, because you know, when you are old, you are not as agile as possible. So as she was trying to cross, I told her, cross faster, because you could see the soldier, the RPF soldier, putting in the rocket to shoot us. So I told you, cross faster. And as she continued being there, so I saw the rocket, the guy putting the rocket, so I fell back, and I couldn't see this elderly woman. Actually, it was just blood and the meat everywhere, that everywhere, spread everywhere. So that time, that day, I knew actually that was my day. But something happened. Unfortunately, somebody else went. So RPF, the times that they almost killed me. It was 112 times.
Wow. Oh, it's so unbelievable. It's so unbelievable. We thank you so much, Dr. William Adams Twayigize. Actually, this is very inspiring. Sad, you've been through hell and back, and like you just go counting like 112 times. Like that's it. You had said your goodbyes, and that was it. And you even been to a mortuary because they thought you were dead, but you were not dead. You had to survive, and you had to live another day so that you can be here today to tell us your testimony, to tell us what you've been through. And I guess to end, I hope that all the stories will be told, the whole truth should be known, and people who put you and everyone through what they did, they will face justice. Justice must be served, and the whole truth must be told. And also I would encourage people like yourselves who survived to tell us their stories. As sad, as horrific it is, but you can imagine people who live with these memories every single day. So again, thank you so much for your time, for coming here to tell us your story. It's so inspiring to see where you came from, what you've been through, and where you are today. So thank you so much, and thank you, Claude, for co-hosting today with me, and thank you, HMG Studio. I pass it to you, Claude. Thank you.
Thank you, Delphine. I want to start with my gratitude to you, Dr. William Adams Twayigize, for your testimony. I also want to thank HMG Studio and our other sponsors, Friends of the Congo. Shout out to our Friends of the Congo comrades that are following this. I noticed Dr. Sam Livingston and Lyndon Wilberg and others. Big shout out to FOTC Atlanta, and also Black Star News, one of our other sponsors. I don't have a lot to add. I just want to encourage and ask everybody, join the efforts to pursue justice, because this is a symptom of white supremacy. The testimony that you just saw is white supremacy using local players. And today, as we challenge and bring about change, there is no lasting peace, as was said by Dr. Denis Mukwege, without justice. There is no justice without truth. And in order to get justice, we must tell the truth. And testimonies like Dr. Williams, even though are difficult to hear, are difficult to digest, we must absolutely bring those forward and let the world know. So let's all join Dr. Denis Mukwege in the pursuit, and other Congolese people and others around the world who are pursuing justice on the crimes that we have heard committed against so many different people here. But before I end my remarks, I want to just quickly acknowledge those of you who were in the audience, Kagoma Egg. Well, especially since we did not get a chance to actually interact with you and your comments. So Kagoma Egg, Mami Kazim Tony, Concord Musoni, Dr. Sam Livingston, Kana Kinama, Denise Mikanya, Alpha Omega, Eugenie Gentil, Dine Claudine, Marika Mororo, Maridus Bemba, Patrick Rugaba Patrick, Odette Mrekatete, Wisdom TI, and many, many others that I'm not able to go through at this time. We really thank you for being with us, but we ask you that you share this story with all of your audience, every single person that you can share this story with, because the world must know. And the truth must come out, justice must be served. No one's life should be lost in vain. And all those women that were raped must get justice, including reparations. And all the children who have died, their families, those who survived them, must get reparations. There must be justice for those who decided to sell out our sisters and brothers, but also to those who sponsor them. And so I thank you all for following this program, and I'll turn it back over to you, Freeman, to wrap this up for us.
Claude, thank you so very much. Dr. William, I don't even have any words to begin to say the journey that you have gone through, except that I'm super grateful to our living God, our Father in heaven, for having kept you, having gone with you in the midst of the fire, in the midst of the hell, and has taken you out of the hell. And here you are, from being just a young child to a young adolescent to a grown person, a grown lost person, a dead amongst the dead, a dead again amongst the dead again. I mean, from rapes to, gosh, I can imagine it all. And it just reminds me how our innocent childhood has been shuttled, has been destroyed. Even personally, I'm also from Rwanda, just like Claude, just like Delphine, and just like Dr. Williams. And when he was speaking, it's so difficult to imagine the gruesome, the hatred, the intent to just destroy a human life, literally. And I don't have the words to express the rage, the sadness, and how
the microphone was open.
In today's world, everything is just. We just don't have any words. But to all of our global audience watching right now, I want you to know that we have been killed since 1990 as Rwandese people. Up to this very day, on the 29th day of January 2022, the Rwandan Front Patriotic, or the Rwandan Patriotic Front, a rebel group turned into a government today in Rwanda, has killed people from October 1st, 1990, up until this very day. We have the international community rallying behind the government, the then rebel. They have helped them, sustained them. They have whitewashed all these crimes up to this very day. Many Rwandese people have died. We're talking about millions, excluding the Rwandan people in the ethnicity Tutsi, who were just killed in a so little time period, but also from the beginning of 1990 up until this very day. All Rwandese, meaning the Hutus, the Twas, and the Tutsis, are being killed. These are no longer being killed by the Interahamwe, as you have been introduced from 1994 to just as time period, those 100 days that international community loves to actually use as a time frame. I submit to you that all of you ladies and gentlemen, all of you global citizens all over the world, we have a responsibility. The moral compass that we have learned all this time, that all these great leaders usually put in front of you. Where is the moral compass right now? When you look to what the government of Rwanda is doing, what is the moral compass? When you give a huge welcome to people like Nyamwasa, General Nyamwasa, General Kayonga, Charles Kayonga, General Paul Kagame, the President of the Republic of Rwanda, assuming that he's still alive. Where is justice? Where is justice? We have told you that we are extremely grateful for the opportunity to tell our story today. Something we actually ask we do not ask any permission from any of you worldwide. We have to tell our story. We have to tell our testimonies, whether you like it or not. We also matter. Our lives also matter. Not just Black lives matter. All people's matter. All people's life matters. Rwandan lives matters. Hutu's life matters. Tutsi's life matters. Twa lives matters. It is our season to bring about justice, with or without you helping us out in the national community. We are going to do it, but we would ask each and every one of you who consider yourself a friend of Rwanda, a friend of a standard citizen of Rwanda, even the refugees who have been in this refugee camp, who have been in forest, who have been in just gruesome lifestyles for these past 28 years. We plead with you all to please help us out. These are not laughing matters at all. Adding salt to an injury, you have all kinds of organization who would just bring in a little sugar here, a little rice there, and then they go to this refugee camp, 28, 30 years refugee camp, and they pass on, and then they take some pictures, and then you bring about, in your own villages, in your own neighborhood, in your own locations here in the West or in Europe, and you show how benevolent that you are. However, you shy away from actually confronting the root of the cause, the root of the issue, the cause of the issue. The government of Rwanda, the then rebel, and not actually holding him to justice, having justice, giving us all justice. We are demanding justice today. We are demanding justice. Since 1990 up to this very day, not one single military in the Rwandan Patriotic Front or the government of Rwanda's military today has yet faced any justice, has yet been prosecuted. Most of them are here in the Western countries, doing business with governments, doing business with private corporations, going in and out of Rwanda, going in and out of the Congo. Most of them overseeing rapes taking place up to this very day. It's unconscionable. And we would love to humbly ask all of you to wake up and help us out. Now, like we're saying, with or without your help, all sons, daughters, African descendants, and friends of Africa, it is our turn today to do what is right by our brothers and sisters all over Africa, especially the voiceless. Especially the voiceless. I ask you all to come through, to really come through. There's so much that we have to do, and so little help, so little hand. But we ask all of you guys to take part in what we are doing today. Only us can make it happen. If you wait on the United Nations, if you wait on some of these government leaders, it's going to be very difficult. But I'm so grateful for army of guys, girls, this entire whole planet, those of you who still have an actual heart, that feel pain, that feel atrocities, that feel killings, thank you for all the help that you are offering us today. A huge thanks to HMG Network and all the affiliates who have been spending so much airtime pulling this word out. We need your help, guys. If we do not tell our story, nobody else is going to tell the story for us, or on behalf of each and every one of these families, especially the families that have been completely destroyed. So we have a duty, we have a responsibility, and we must be accountable to everything we're doing today. So with that in mind, I am grateful again. I am so grateful for Claude and Delphine for such an amazing testimony, an amazing conversation that you have brought us today. And I'm so grateful for you, global audience all over, for having tuned in. We want to ask that you share the content, especially those of you on social media. Share the content. Also tell your brothers and sisters, those who are still hiding, that today we can share our own story. Today you can write your own history. The kind of history the Kagame and all the Goonies will never want the rest of the world to know. But we are here to tell that story, and nobody's going to stop us. So we are so grateful, extremely humbled for the opportunity in this season to be here, to share with you all our story. And with that in mind, I am so grateful to all of you for having tuned in. We have so much more to say. We have so much to say to you all. Bring your own story as well, so it can be a part of the archive. I also want to remind you, we are writing our history. We are preserving this history to be here for thousands of years to come. We will make it happen with or without all of your help, especially those who have been committing these crimes day in and day out. And with that in mind, thank you so very much for tuning in. I am Freeman Singirankabo with HMG. I wish you all a super fantastic weekend. Until we see you again on this broadcast, so long.